I'm sitting in the law offices of Henderson and Associates in downtown Chicago, staring at a document that's about to change everything. The mahogany conference table reflects the afternoon sun streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. My hands aren't shaking, which surprises me. After 32 years of being invisible to my family, I've learned to steady myself through anything. Ms. Mitchell, are you ready to proceed? Attorney Gerald Henderson adjusts his glasses, his voice carrying the weight of what's about to happen. I nod, gripping the Mont Blanc pen he's placed before me. In the hallway outside, I can hear voices. My brother Marcus arguing with someone on his phone, probably about another failed business venture. My sister Victoria's heels click against marble as she paces. My parents, Robert and Diana Mitchell, are undoubtedly sitting in those expensive leather chairs by the elevator, confident in what they're about to receive. They have no idea that Great Aunt Eleanor left everything to me. 24 hours ago, I was nobody to them. The middle child who they forgot to invite to Christmas dinner 3 years running. The daughter whose college graduation they missed because Marcus had a golf tournament. The sister whose tech startup launch went unnoticed while Victoria's third wedding consumed every conversation for months. But Eleanor saw me. She always did. The reading is scheduled for 3 p.m. It's 2:47 now. I sign the preliminary documents, my signature bold and unwavering. Mr. Henderson's secretary, Patricia, offers me water. I decline. I want to be completely clear-headed for what's coming. Your aunt was very specific in her instructions, Mr. Henderson says, organizing papers with practiced precision. She wanted everything handled exactly as she outlined. I think back to my last conversation with Eleanor, 2 months before the cancer took her. We sat in her garden in Winnetka, overlooking Lake Michigan. The autumn leaves created a tapestry of gold and crimson around us. Rachel, she'd said, her voice still strong despite her frailty, I've watched this family for 70 years. I've seen who shows up and who doesn't, who builds and who takes, who loves and who performs. I'd held her hand, paper thin but warm. Aunt Eleanor, you should rest. I've made my decision, she'd continued, eyes sharp as ever. And I need you to be strong when it happens. They won't understand. They never understood you, and they won't understand this. The conference room door opens. My family files in like actors taking their marks on a stage they assume they own. Marcus enters first, designer suit impeccable, checking his Rolex as if this is just another appointment between his important meetings. At 35, he still carries himself like the high school quarterback he was, the golden boy who could do no wrong. Victoria follows, her platinum blonde hair perfectly styled, designer bag worth more than most people's cars clutched against her side. She's 37, but tries to look 25. Each procedure and injection a desperate attempt to stop time. Her current husband, Bradley, or is it Brandon, trails behind, already looking bored. My parents enter last. Robert Mitchell, silver-haired and distinguished, a man who built his fortune in commercial real estate and never let anyone forget it. Diana, still beautiful at 62, her face a careful construction of subtle surgeries and expensive skincare. They don't look at me. They never really do. Let's get this over with, Marcus says, dropping into a chair with the casualness of someone who's never doubted his importance. I have a meeting at 4. Of course you do, I think, but don't say. Mr. Henderson clears his throat. Thank you all for coming. We're here for the reading of Eleanor Mitchell's last will and testament. Finally, Victoria mutters, examining her manicure. It's been 2 weeks since the funeral. The funeral where I delivered the eulogy because no one else had prepared anything. Where I stood at that podium in St. Mark's Cathedral and talked about the woman who taught me to paint, who attended every single one of my jazz recitals, who sent me handwritten letters when everyone else forgot I existed. Marcus had been on his phone the entire time. Victoria left early for a spa appointment. My parents sat in the front row like marble statues, performing grief they didn't feel. Eleanor Mitchell's estate is considerable, Mr. Henderson begins. The house in Winnetka, valued at approximately $12 million. Investment portfolios totaling $38 million. Art collection appraised at $15 million. Various other assets including vehicles, jewelry, and property in Aspen and Martha's Vineyard. I watch my family lean forward like hungry wolves scenting prey. Marcus is already calculating. I can see it in his eyes. Victoria's breathing has quickened. My parents exchange satisfied glances. The estate, in its entirety, Mr. Henderson continues, his voice steady and clear, is left to Rachel Marie Mitchell. The silence that follows is so complete, I can hear the traffic 30 floors below. It stretches for one heartbeat. 2, 3, what? Marcus's voice cracks like a teenager's. That's impossible. There must be a mistake, my mother says, her composure cracking for the first time in my memory. Eleanor wouldn't. She couldn't. I assure you, there's no mistake. Mr. Henderson slides copies of the will across the table. Miss Mitchell was quite clear in her intentions. She revised this will 6 months ago, while in complete possession of her mental faculties. I have documentation from 3 separate physicians confirming her mental competency, as well as video recordings of her stating her wishes. This is insane. Victoria stands so quickly her chair rolls backward. Rachel barely knew her. I'm the one who what? I speak for the first time since they entered. My voice surprises me with its calmness. Who visited her once a year on Christmas? Who sent her generic birthday cards with pre-printed messages? Who called her only when you needed money for your 3rd wedding? Don't you dare, Victoria hisses. You think you're special because you played the devoted niece? This is manipulation. You manipulated a dying old woman. That's enough. Mr. Henderson's voice cuts through her tirade. I must inform you that any challenges to this will would be inadvisable. Eleanor anticipated potential contests and took every legal precaution. She also left specific instructions should anyone choose to challenge. He pulls out another document. In the event of any legal challenge to this will, the challenger's name will be released to the media, along with detailed documentation of all financial gifts Eleanor provided to them over the years, including those that were never repaid, those that were misrepresented, and those that were obtained through false pretenses. Marcus goes pale. I remember now, the business loan 5 years ago that became a yacht. Victoria's jaw tightens. The wedding that cost $200,000, claimed as an investment in family networking. Furthermore, Mr. Henderson continues, Eleanor established a $50 million charitable foundation before her death. Should this will be challenged, the entire estate converts to charitable donations with no family member receiving anything. My father speaks for the first time, his voice controlled but tight. Rachel, surely we can discuss this as a family. I almost laugh. Family. The word sits between us like a foreign object, something they're trying on for size now that it suits them. The way we discussed my acceptance to MIT? I ask. Or how we discussed my promotion to Chief Technology Officer. Oh, wait, you didn't know about either of those things because you never asked. You're being dramatic, my mother says, her default dismissal whenever I expressed any emotion growing up. Am I? When did you last call me, Mom? Not text, not email through your assistant, but actually call? She opens her mouth, then closes it. We both know the answer. 3 years ago, and only because she needed me to sign something for a tax filing. This isn't fair. Marcus slams his hand on the table. I'm the eldest. I'm the son. This should be. What? Yours by birthright? I stand now, feeling the strength Eleanor always said she saw in me. You've had everything handed to you since birth, Marcus. Dad gave you a position in his company that you ran into the ground. Mom bailed you out of every bad decision. You got the cars, the private schools, the connections, the constant praise for mediocre achievements. And you, I turn to Victoria, you got the shopping trips, the pageants, the cosmetic procedures, 3 weddings that each cost more than most people's houses. You got their attention every time you had a crisis, which was conveniently every week. But me? I spread my hands on the table, grounding myself. I got straight A's and no one noticed. I won the state science fair and ate dinner alone that night. I started a company from nothing, sold it for $8 million last year, and not one of you even knows the name of it. 8 million? Marcus's voice is strangled. Technova Solutions, I say. We developed healthcare software that's now used in 300 hospitals. But you wouldn't know that because when I tried to tell you at Eleanor's 4th of July party, you walked away mid-sentence to take a call about your fantasy football league. The room feels smaller now, charged with a tension that's been building for 32 years. Eleanor saw me, I continue, my voice stronger now. She came to my graduations. She read every article about my company. She celebrated my successes and comforted me through my failures. She was the only one in this family who ever asked me how I was and actually waited for the answer. So you convinced her to leave you everything, my father says, his businessman's mind already working angles. You saw an opportunity and took it. No, Dad. She saw a family that only valued her for her money, and one person who valued her for herself. The will reflects that. Mr. Henderson interjects, "There's more. Eleanor left letters for each of you." He produces 4 envelopes, each labeled with precise handwriting I recognize from years of birthday cards that actually meant something. My family reaches for them with varying degrees of reluctance. "These are to be read privately," Mr. Henderson says. "Miss Rachel, yours is separate." He hands me a larger envelope, heavier than the others. Marcus rips his open immediately, his face cycling through shades of red as he reads. Victoria's hands shake as she unfolds hers. My parents read theirs together, my mother's perfectly composed mask finally cracking completely. I don't open mine. Not yet. Not here. "This is cruel," my mother whispers, the letter trembling in her grip. She had no right to say these things. The truth often feels cruel to those who've avoided it. Mr. Carnegie Henderson says quietly. "We'll contest this," Marcus announces, shoving the letter back in its envelope. "We'll prove undue influence. You'll lose everything," I interrupt. And I mean everything. Eleanor made sure of that. But more importantly, you'll finally face consequences for your choices. Our choices? Victoria laughs bitterly. What about yours? Hiding in the shadows, playing the victim, waiting for your moment to strike? I wasn't hiding, I say simply. I was invisible. There's a difference. I was right there the whole time, achieving things, growing, becoming someone. You just never bothered to look. I gather my papers, Eleanor's letter safe in my hand. Mr. Henderson will handle the transfer of assets. I'll be keeping Eleanor's house in Winnetka. It's the only place that ever felt like home anyway. You can't just walk away, my father says, standing now, using his full height the way he always did when trying to intimidate. We're your family. I pause at the door, turning back one last time. No, you're my relatives. Eleanor was my family. She showed me what that word actually means. The elevator ride down feels like ascending somehow, like rising from underwater after holding my breath for 3 decades. In the lobby, I pass a mirror and barely recognize myself. Not because I look different, but because I finally look like who I've always been when no one was watching. Outside, Chicago spreads before me in all its afternoon glory. The lake sparkles in the distance, the same view Eleanor loved from her garden. I think about calling James, my boyfriend of 2 years whom my family has never met, doesn't even know exists. I think about Sarah and Tom, my best friends who threw me a surprise party when I sold my company, who've listened to me work through the pain of family rejection in countless coffee shops and late-night conversations. But first, I sit on a bench in Millennium Park and open Eleanor's letter. My dearest Rachel, if you're reading this, then it's done. You're probably sitting somewhere quiet, away from their noise and fury, just as you always did as a child. Do you remember hiding in my library during family gatherings? You'd curl up with a book while the others performed their elaborate dance of appearances. Even at 8 years old, you knew the difference between authentic and artificial. I want you to know that this decision wasn't made from spite or favoritism. It was made from love and, more importantly, from justice. You see, my dear, wealth is wasted on those who've never learned its value through its absence. Your siblings and parents have lived their entire lives with hands out and hearts closed. They've mistaken taking for receiving, demanding for deserving. But you, my darling girl, you built your life with your own hands. Every achievement, every milestone, every success, you earned them while they weren't watching. And that's precisely why you deserve this. Not as a reward for being overlooked, but as resources for someone who actually knows how to build something meaningful. I've watched you pour your success back into the world, the coding camps you fund for underprivileged kids, the scholarships you anonymously provide, the women's shelter you volunteer at every Saturday morning when your family thinks you're being antisocial. Yes, I knew about all of it. I paid attention. That's what family does. They'll call you selfish, they'll call you manipulative, they'll call you every name they can think of to avoid calling themselves accountable. Let them. You and I both know the truth, that love isn't an obligation, it's a choice. And for 32 years, they chose everything and everyone else over you. The house in Winnetka is yours now. I've left instructions with the staff. Maria and James know you're coming. The garden needs tending. I know you'll bring it back to life. The library is exactly as you remember it, with a few additions I think you'll appreciate. Make it your sanctuary, as it was mine. There's a safety deposit box at First National, number 472. Inside, you'll find my journals from the last 40 years. Every family gathering, every disappointment, every time they failed you, I documented it all. Not from cruelty, but as evidence of a pattern they'll try to deny. Use it if you need to, or burn it if you don't. The choice is yours. I know you'll question whether you deserve this. You do. I know you'll wonder if you should share it with them. You shouldn't. I know you'll feel guilty. Don't. This isn't about punishing them. It's about empowering you. There's a difference, though they'll never understand it. Build something beautiful with this gift, Rachel. Not out of obligation to me or anyone else, but because that's who you are, a builder in a family of takers. Create the life you've always deserved, but were too overlooked to claim. Surround yourself with people who see you, who celebrate you, who show up for you. And know that every time you doubt yourself, every time their words creep in and make you question your worth, I'm there in spirit, reminding you of the truth. You were always enough. They were just too blind to see it. All my love, Aunt Eleanor. P.S. The Monet in the sitting room is yours. You're the only one who ever noticed it was real. I sit with the letter for a long time, tears streaming down my face. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming relief of being truly seen and chosen. A text buzzes on my phone. Marcus, this isn't over. I delete it without responding and call James instead. Hey, beautiful, he answers on the first ring. How did it go? I'll tell you everything tonight, I say, watching the sun start its descent over the city. But first, how do you feel about looking at a house in Winnetka? It has a beautiful garden and a library you'll love. With you, I'd look at houses on the moon. I smile, real and unguarded. I love you. I love you too. Your family are idiots, you know that? They're not my family, I correct gently. They're just some people I'm related to. That evening, I drive to Winnetka in my sensible Honda Civic, the car my family mocked me for buying instead of the BMW they thought I should want. Maria opens the door before I can knock, pulling me into a warm embrace. Miss Eleanor told us you'd be coming, she says, tears in her eyes. Welcome home, Miss Rachel. Finally, welcome home. The house feels different without Eleanor's physical presence, but alive with her spirit. Every room holds a memory of being seen, being valued, being loved. The library still smells of her lavender perfume and old books. The garden view from the kitchen window still takes my breath away. The Monet, yes, the real Monet, that my family walked past 1,000 times without recognizing, still catches the light perfectly in the sitting room. I pour myself a glass of Eleanor's favorite wine from the cellar and raise it to her portrait above the fireplace. Thank you, I whisper, for everything. My phone buzzes continuously for the next 3 hours. 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, 12 emails. I turn it off and spend the evening going through Eleanor's study, finding photo albums filled with pictures of me at various ages, my science fair, my college graduation, my company launch. She'd been there for all of it, documenting the life my family ignored. The next morning brings lawyers to my doorstep. Not mine, theirs. My father has sent his legal team to negotiate a reasonable settlement. There's nothing to negotiate, I tell them calmly, serving them coffee in Eleanor's china, because she would have appreciated the irony. The will is ironclad. Your client can either accept it or trigger the clause that donates everything to charity. Those are the only options. Surely you don't want to destroy your family over this, the lead attorney, Mr. Blackwood, says with practiced concern. My family was destroyed long before this, I reply. I'm just choosing not to pretend anymore. They leave without their coffee, which seems wasteful but predictable. Sarah and Tom arrive that afternoon, wine and Chinese takeout in hand. Holy shit, Tom says, spinning in the marble foyer. This place is incredible. It's too much. I start to say, the old instinct to minimize myself rising up. No, Sarah interrupts firmly. It's exactly what you deserve. Do you know how many times we watched them hurt you? How many birthdays they forgot? How many achievements they ignored? This is justice, Rach. Pure, beautiful justice. We spend the evening planning. The coding camps I've been funding can expand now. The women's shelter needs a new wing. The scholarship program I've dreamed of creating can become reality. You're really going to use it all for good, aren't you? Tom asks, though it's not really a question. Not all, I admit. I'm going to travel. I'm going to buy art that makes me happy. I'm going to live without apologizing for existing. But yeah, most of it will go toward building something meaningful. It's what Eleanor would want. It's what I want. Victoria shows up 3 days later, alone. I watch through the security camera as she sits in her Range Rover for 20 minutes before finally approaching the door. We need to talk, she says when I answer. I let her in because Eleanor would want me to show grace, even when it hasn't been earned. We sit in the conservatory, surrounded by Eleanor's orchids. The letter, Victoria starts, then stops. Eleanor's letter. She said things? True things? Victoria's perfectly constructed face crumbles slightly. I didn't know you sold a company. I didn't know you were dating someone. I didn't. I don't know anything about you. No, I agree simply. You don't. Marcus is furious, she continues. He's talking about hiring investigators, proving you manipulated her. He won't find anything because there's nothing to find. Dad's restructuring everything, trying to prevent financial collapse. Apparently he was counting on this inheritance to cover some bad investments. I say nothing. Their financial problems aren't my responsibility. Mom hasn't left her room in 3 days. Still, I say nothing. Victoria looks at me then, really looks at me for perhaps the first time in our adult lives. You really don't care, do you, about what happens to us? I consider the question honestly. I care the exact amount you've cared about me for the past 30 years. Does that seem fair? She flinches. We're sisters. No, Victoria, we're strangers who share DNA. Sisters know each other's dreams. Sisters show up for each other. Sisters celebrate each other's victories and comfort each other's defeats. When have you ever done any of that for me? You were always so sufficient, so independent. You never seemed to need us. Every child needs their family. I just learned to stop showing it when it became clear my needs didn't matter. She stands to leave, then pauses. The investigator Marcus hired found something interesting. You donate almost half your salary to charity. You have been for years. And that's going to make it very hard to paint you as the selfish gold digger he wants you to be. She leaves without another word. I don't expect to see her again, and I'm right. Marcus's campaign against me lasts exactly 1 week before Mr. Henderson sends a cease and desist letter with enough legal weight behind it to silence even his entitled rage. The investigators he hired ended up providing more evidence of my character than his. The narrative he wanted to spin, opportunistic daughter manipulates elderly aunt, crumbled against the reality of my documented history of generosity and Eleanor's meticulous records of being ignored by everyone except me. My parents attempt a different approach. They show up together on a Thursday morning, dressed in their casual wealth uniform, his Ralph Lauren, her Chanel. We'd like to have a civilized discussion, my father says at the door. I let them in but don't offer coffee. Eleanor's hospitality has limits, even posthumously. You've made your point, my mother begins, sitting rigidly on the sofa. We perhaps haven't been as attentive as we could have been. Perhaps? I almost laugh. You missed my college graduation for Victoria's spa weekend. You forgot my 30th birthday entirely. You've never even asked what I do for a living. We're not perfect parents, my father says, as if this is a revelation, but completely cutting us off seems extreme. I haven't cut you off. You cut me off years ago. I'm just returning the gesture. This is Eleanor poisoning you against us, my mother says, her composure cracking. She always resented that we had lives, careers, other priorities. Other priorities, I repeat. That's one way to phrase it. That another would be that you had 2 other children you preferred and one you forgot existed unless you needed something. That's not. Mom, what's my middle name? She blinks, mouth opening and closing like a fish. It's Marie, I supply. What's my favorite color? What did I study in college? What's my biggest fear? What makes me happiest? You don't know any of it because you never asked, never cared, never saw me as more than background noise in the family you actually wanted. We can do better, my father says, and for a moment I see something that might be genuine regret in his eyes. Maybe you can, I concede, but I don't need to wait around to find out. I've built a life without you. A good life. A happy life. I have people who love me, who see me, who celebrate my existence rather than tolerate it. I don't need to shrink myself anymore to fit into the tiny space you allocated for me in your lives. They leave with the slow, shocked movements of people realizing consequences are real and irreversible. 2 weeks pass in a blur of legal transfers, financial planning, and the strange adjustment to being wealthy beyond my wildest dreams. I hire a financial advisor, someone Naomi recommends, not my father's network, and set up the charitable foundation I've been dreaming about. The Mitchell Foundation for Overlooked Voices will provide scholarships and grants to middle children, introverts, and anyone else who's been told they're not enough. I keep my job, though I reduce my hours. My colleagues don't need to know about the inheritance. I like who I am there, respected for my skills, valued for my contributions, seen for my worth. James moves in with me gradually, a toothbrush here, a drawer there, until one day we realize he hasn't been to his apartment in a month. Are you sure you want this? He asks one evening as we cook dinner together in Eleanor's massive kitchen. The house. The money. It doesn't weird you out that I'm moving into your mansion? Our mansion, I correct, kissing him. And you loved me when I had nothing but student loans and a studio apartment. This doesn't change us. Your family, the people I share DNA with, are irrelevant to our life together. You're my family. You, Sarah, Tom, the friends who've shown up consistently. That's my family. The doorbell rings, interrupting our conversation. Maria answers it. She and her husband James have agreed to stay on, giving the house the warmth it deserves. Miss Rachel, there's a young woman here. Says she's your cousin? I don't have cousins I'm close to, but I'm curious. In the foyer stands a girl, maybe 22, nervous, familiar in a way I can't place. I'm Ashley, she says quietly. Marcus's daughter. I didn't even know Marcus had a daughter. The family dysfunction runs deeper than I thought. He doesn't know I'm here, she continues quickly. I saw what happened with the will. I wanted to meet you. Why? Because I know what it's like to be invisible in this family. Dad had me when he was 23 before he married Patricia. I'm the mistake he pays child support for but doesn't acknowledge at family gatherings. Another ghost in the Mitchell family machine. I invite her in, and over tea, she tells me her story. Raised by her mother, a check every month, but no phone calls, no visits, no place in the family portraits. She's in her last year at Northwestern, studying literature, paying her own way because Marcus forgot to set up her college fund. I've watched from the outside my whole life, she says. Saw the Christmas cards with everyone but me, the family vacations I wasn't invited to, the grandparents who pretend I don't exist. They're very good at that, I agree, pretending people don't exist. When I heard what Aunt Eleanor did, leaving everything to you, I thought, maybe there's justice in the world after all. I look at this young woman, another casualty of my family's selective attention, and make a decision. The Mitchell Foundation is offering scholarships starting next semester. Full ride for graduate school, if you're interested. Her eyes fill with tears. You don't even know me. I know your family, real family, the kind forged in shared experience rather than blood. That's enough. Ashley becomes a regular visitor after that. We bond over books in Eleanor's library, tend the garden together, share stories of being forgotten. She brings her mother once, a kind woman named Grace who thanks me for seeing her daughter. Marcus talked about you sometimes, Grace tells me privately. Always dismissively. Rachel the bore, he'd call you. But I could tell he was threatened. You accomplished things without help. That challenged his entire worldview. His worldview isn't my concern anymore. No, she agrees. But watching it crumble is rather satisfying, isn't it? I can't argue with that. The seasons change with a fury of growth in Eleanor's garden. I hire a landscape architect, not to change it, but to preserve it, to help it flourish. The metaphor isn't lost on me. I'm spreading mulch around the rose bushes when my phone rings with a number I don't recognize. Rachel, this is Patricia, Marcus's wife. I wait, saying nothing. I'm leaving him, she says in a rush. I wanted you to know. The letter from Eleanor, it opened my eyes. She wrote about how he treats women, how he treated Ashley's mother, how he treats me. I'm done. I'm sorry, I say, because I am. No one deserves to be diminished, even by association. Don't be. You did me a favor about all of this did. Sometimes it takes an earthquake to show you the cracks in the foundation. After she hangs up, I think about earthquakes and foundations, about what stands strong and what crumbles when tested. Mr. Henderson calls that afternoon. Your father's company has filed for bankruptcy. I thought you should know. Will he come after Eleanor's estate? He can try, but the inheritance is protected. Eleanor made sure of that. Of course she did. Eleanor understood my family better than they understood themselves. That evening, I find James in the library, reading one of Eleanor's journals. She'd given him permission in her letter to me. Let that lovely man of yours read these if he wants. He should know the family you survived. Your aunt was remarkable, he says, setting the journal aside. She documented everything. Every slight, every absence, every time they failed you. She paid attention. She loved you. Yes, I agree. She did. Your mother called my office today, he says carefully. James is a pediatric surgeon. Finding his number wouldn't have been hard. What did she want? To tell me you're unstable, that the money has changed you, that I should be concerned about your mental state. And I told her the only thing that's changed is that you finally have the resources to stop pretending their behavior was acceptable. I love this man more than words can express. 6 months after the will reading, I host my first gathering at the house. Not family. My chosen family. Sarah and Tom, James's colleagues from the hospital, Ashley and her mother, my team from work, the kids from the coding camp I sponsor. Eleanor's house fills with laughter that isn't forced, conversations that aren't veiled manipulations, love that isn't conditional. This is what she wanted, Maria tells me, tears in her eyes as she helps serve Eleanor's favorite soup recipe. The house to be full of joy. Real joy. Marcus appears on the news that night, something about another failed venture and investor fraud. I change the channel. Victoria's divorce from Bradley, it was Bradley, makes the society pages. She's moving to Arizona for a fresh start, which I suspect means finding another wealthy husband who doesn't know her history. My parents simply fade. Their social circle contracts as their wealth evaporates. The country club membership lapses. The charity boards quietly request their resignation. They become what they always feared most: irrelevant. I document none of it, take no satisfaction in their struggles. Their collapse isn't my revenge, it's their consequence. There's a difference. A year passes. The foundation has awarded 12 scholarships. The women's shelter has a new wing. The coding camp has expanded to 3 locations. Eleanor's money flows out into the world, creating ripples of change she would have loved. I'm reviewing scholarship applications when Maria announces a visitor. Someone named Robert Mitchell, Miss Rachel. My father stands in the foyer, but he's not the man I remember. He's smaller somehow, diminished. His suit is off the rack, his shoes worn. The armor of wealth that once made him imposing has been stripped away. I won't take much of your time, he says quietly. I lead him to the conservatory, but don't sit. Some conversations are better held standing. I came to apologize, he says, and the words seem to physically pain him. Not for Eleanor's money, that's gone, and we both know I can't touch it. But for before. Before? For having a daughter and not seeing her. For letting your mother convince me that children were investments, that only the ones with obvious returns were worth nurturing. For missing your entire life while it was happening right in front of me. Why now? Why now? He pulls out a worn newspaper clipping. It's the article about the foundation, about the scholarships for overlooked children. My picture is there, smiling at the camera with this year's recipients. You did what I never could, he says. You built something that matters. Without connections, without seed money, without any of the advantages I gave Marcus. You did it alone. I was never alone. I had Eleanor. I had friends. I had people who saw me. Yes, he agrees. We just weren't those people. He turns to leave, then stops. Your mother wants to reconcile. She'll probably show up eventually, make a scene. Don't let her. She hasn't learned anything, just lost everything. There's a difference. It's the most honest thing he's ever said to me. After he leaves, I sit in Eleanor's chair, looking out at the lake. The sun sets in brilliant oranges and purples, reminding me of the evening Eleanor told me about the will. They'll hate you for a while, she'd said. Then they'll pretend to love you. Then if you're lucky, they'll forget you exist again. That last one is the kindest option. She was right, as always. My phone buzzes with a text from Ashley. Got into the graduate program at Columbia. Thank you for believing in me. Then one from James. Surgery ran late, but bringing pizza. Love you. Another from Sarah. Wine night Thursday? Tom found a documentary about terrible families you'll love. These are my people. The ones who stayed. My mother does show up 2 weeks later with a practice speech about forgiveness and moving forward. I let her perform it on the doorstep, then close the door without a word. Maria later tells me she sat in her car for an hour before driving away. The second anniversary of Eleanor's death arrives on a spectacular autumn day. I host a celebration of her life. Not a mourning, but a genuine celebration. The garden overflows with people whose lives she touched, former students she quietly supported through school, artists whose work she championed, families she helped when no one was watching. She was the only one who believed I could be a doctor, says Jamil, now in his residency at Johns Hopkins. My own parents thought it was too ambitious for someone like me. She bought my paintings when no one else would even look at them, adds Margaret, whose work now hangs in galleries across the country. Told me talent finds its way if you just keep creating. Story after story, life after life that Eleanor touched. This was her real legacy. Not the money, but the seeing, the noticing, the believing in people everyone else overlooked. Marcus doesn't come. Victoria doesn't come. My parents don't come. But Ashley does, with her boyfriend, a kind-faced engineering student who holds her hand like she's precious. Grace comes too, finally free to be part of gatherings that include her daughter. Eleanor would have loved this, Mr. Henderson says, surprising me with his attendance. She does love it, I correct, feeling her presence in every laugh, every shared story, every moment of connection. That night, after everyone leaves, I find a letter I hadn't noticed before, tucked behind Eleanor's portrait. It's dated just a week before she died. My dearest Rachel, if you're reading this, you found the last piece. I wanted you to have time to settle into your new life before finding this final thought. I've watched you doubt yourself these past months as my health declined, wondering if you deserve what I'm leaving you, wondering if keeping it makes you selfish, wondering if you should give them another chance. Let me be clear one last time. You deserve every penny and more. Keeping it makes you wise, not selfish. And they had 32 years of chances. But here's what I really want you to know. The money isn't the inheritance. The inheritance is the freedom to be exactly who you are without apology. The power to see yourself as valuable regardless of who else does or doesn't see it. The ability to build the family you choose rather than accept the one you were given. I'm leaving you the money because you already have the inheritance. You've always had it. I just wanted to make sure you'd never have to hide it again. Live brilliantly, my darling girl. Live so brilliantly that your light reaches all the other invisible ones, showing them they matter. They're seen. They're enough. All my love, always, Eleanor. I press the letter to my chest. Tears streaming freely. From the kitchen, I hear James and Ashley laughing over something. Maria is humming while she cleans up from the gathering. The house pulses with life, with chosen family, with the opposite of everything I grew up with. 3 years pass in what feels like moments. The foundation grows beyond anything I imagined. We've funded 40 scholarships, opened 2 more women's shelters, and created a mentorship program that pairs overlooked kids with successful adults who understand their journey. I marry James in Eleanor's garden on a perfect June day. Sarah is my maid of honor. Tom officiates. He got ordained online specifically for this, and Ashley reads a poem she wrote about chosen families. My parents aren't invited. Marcus and Victoria don't even know it's happening. The only biological family present is Ashley and her mother, because family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up. Do you, Rachel Marie Mitchell, Take this man who has seen you, truly seen you, from the very beginning? Tom asks, going off script in the best way. I absolutely do. The reception is small, intimate, filled with people who knew me before the inheritance and loved me anyway. Mr. Henderson attends, telling stories about Eleanor that make us all cry-laugh. Maria and her husband dance to the same song they danced to at their own wedding 40 years ago. No regrets? James asks as we sway together under the string lights Sarah insisted on hanging everywhere. Not one. And I mean it. And I mean it. A journalist contacts me 6 months later, wanting to do a story about inheritance guilt and family estrangement. I decline, but recommend she speak to the foundation recipients instead. The resulting article, The Inheritance of Being Seen, becomes a viral sensation, not for the family drama she was hunting, but for the stories of kids whose lives changed because someone finally noticed them. Marcus reaches out once, through a lawyer, suggesting we put the past behind us and move forward as a family. The letter mentions his new business venture needing investors. I have my lawyer respond with a simple no thank you and a cease and desist order. Victoria writes on Facebook, in a post she thinks I'll see, about the cruelty of family members who hold grudges, who can't forgive, who choose money over blood. She gets 12 likes, mostly from people who don't know the whole story. I don't have Facebook anymore anyway. Ashley screenshots it and we laugh over coffee. It must be exhausting, she says, maintaining that level of delusion. It's all they have left, I reply, and find I can say it without bitterness now. My parents age rapidly, the way people do when their entire identity was built on status they no longer possess. I hear about them occasionally through the grapevine. Dad works as a consultant now. Mom sells real estate. They live in a modest apartment downtown. They still don't acknowledge Ashley exists. Sometimes I drive past their building, not out of nostalgia or spite, but curiosity. What does a life look like when stripped of everything except the choices you made? I never stop, never reach out. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. They're meant to teach us why we needed to cross the water in the first place. 5 years after Eleanor's death, the foundation hosts its first major gala. We've raised $2 million additional dollars, every penny going to kids who know what it's like to be invisible in their own homes. The ballroom at the Palmer House glitters with people who understand that sometimes the best family is the one you choose. I'm talking to a donor when I see them. My parents, older, grayer, smaller, standing at the entrance. They weren't invited. Security moves to intercept them, but I hold up a hand. It's okay, I tell Tom, who's already moving to run interference. Let me. I meet them in the lobby, away from my real life, my real family, my real joy. We bought tickets, my mother says defensively. We wanted to see what you've built. Why? My father clears his throat. Because we finally understand what Eleanor saw. And what's that? That you were the only one of us worth investing in. The words hang between us. Too late to heal. Too true to ignore. I hope you enjoy the event, I say, turning to go. Rachel, my mother calls. We're proud of you. I stop but don't turn around. No, you're not. You're impressed by what I've accomplished despite you. There's a difference. But thank you for finally seeing me, even if it's 5 years and $65 million too late. I leave them there and return to the gala, to my life, to the family I've built on foundations of mutual respect and genuine love. The evening is perfect. Ashley gives a speech about being seen for the first time. James talks about the power of believing in people. The foundation kids perform a song they wrote about finding their voices. Not one person mentions my biological family, because they're not part of the story anymore. Later, as we're leaving, Tom mentions he saw my parents in the back of the room during the presentations. Your mom was crying, he says. Good tears, or bad? Does it matter? I consider this. No, it really doesn't. The house in Winnetka has become a haven for overlooked souls. Ashley lives in the guest house while she finishes her doctorate. We host Sunday dinners for anyone who needs a family that day. The library is never empty, always filled with someone discovering that they matter in the quiet company of books and acceptance. I'm in the garden one morning, autumn again, the leaves falling in the same golden cascade that backdropped my last real conversation with Eleanor. Ashley joins me, coffee in hand, her dissertation notes tucked under her arm. I've been thinking about visibility, she says. How some people are born in spotlights and others have to generate their own light. And I think the self-generated light is stronger. It has to be. It exists despite the darkness, not because of an external source. Eleanor would have loved that metaphor. She would have, Ashley agrees. I wish I'd known her better. You did, through the choices she made, through the people she chose to see, through this. I gesture at the garden, the house, the life we've built on the foundation of her faith in me. My phone buzzes. Marcus again, no, this time through a different lawyer. The message is more desperate now. Medical bills, his daughter, he finally acknowledges Ashley exists when he needs money, should help. Family obligation, shared blood. I forward it to my lawyer with a simple no and go back to pruning the roses. That afternoon, I meet with 3 new foundation recipients. They sit in Eleanor's conservatory, nervous, hopeful, glowing with the possibility that someone finally sees them. One reminds me of myself at 17, brilliant but convinced she's not enough because her family told her so every day through their indifference. My parents think art is a waste of time, she says quietly. They want me to be a doctor like my brother. What do you want? To create beautiful things, to make people feel less alone through my work. Then that's what you'll do. The foundation will make sure of it. She cries then, the kind of tears that come when someone finally acknowledges you exist. This is Eleanor's true legacy. Not the money, but the seeing. Not the inheritance, but the inheriting of the ability to recognize light in people others overlook. That night, James finds me in the library, reading Eleanor's journals again. Found something new? He asks. The same thing, actually. Just understanding it differently. I show him the entry from my 16th birthday, the one where Eleanor wrote, Rachel came to tea today, alone as always on her birthday. Her family forgot again. She doesn't cry anymore when they forget. That's what worries me most. Not that they don't see her, but that she's stopping expecting to be seen. But you never stopped, James says, pulling me close. No, I just started looking for visibility in the right places. Eleanor. You, Sarah, and Tom. People who didn't need me to shrink to fit their vision of who I should be. And now you're making sure other kids find that too. It's what Eleanor did for me. It's what family actually means. We sit in comfortable silence, the weight of Eleanor's books around us like an embrace. My story spreads in whispers through Chicago's wealthy circles, the discarded daughter who inherited everything, the family who got exactly what they deserved. Some paint me as vindictive, others as victorious. I don't care about any of their opinions. The only voices that matter belong to the kids who finally believe they're worth seeing. On what would have been Eleanor's 75th birthday, I host a massive celebration. The house overflows with scholarship recipients, shelter residents, coding camp kids, all testament to Eleanor's belief that seeing people changes lives. I stand to give a toast, looking out at faces Eleanor never met but would have loved. Eleanor Mitchell saw me when I was invisible. She taught me that being overlooked isn't about being unworthy. It's about other people's limited vision. She gave me more than money. She gave me permission to exist fully, boldly, without apology. Every person in this room is here because that gift keeps giving, spreading from one overlooked soul to another, creating a family bound not by blood, but by the revolutionary act of truly seeing each other. The room erupts in applause, but I'm not done. To those who overlook us, who diminish us, who forget we exist until we have something they want, we are not your supporting cast. We are not your safety net. We are not your obligation or your afterthought. We are whole, complete, worthy people who deserve to be seen for who we are, not who you need us to be. Ashley stands, raising her glass. To Aunt Eleanor, who saw us all before we existed. To Eleanor, the room echoes. That night, after everyone leaves, I stand in her garden one last time before winter comes. The lake stretches endlessly before me, dark water meeting dark sky, infinite with possibility. I did it, Eleanor, I whisper to the wind. I became visible, not to them, they'll never really see me, but to myself, to the people who matter, to the kids who need to know it's possible. The wind carries the scent of roses, impossible this late in the season, but there nonetheless. In the distance, Chicago glitters with millions of lights, each one a life, a story, a person hoping to be seen. I think about the foundation kids out there tonight, maybe for the first time believing they matter. I think about Ashley, finally part of a family that claims her. I think about James, probably reading in bed, waiting for me to come home to the life we've built together. This is what Eleanor knew, what she tried to teach me through all those years of being the only one watching. That being seen isn't about being visible to everyone. It's about being visible to the right people, the ones who see you, not for what you can give them, but for who you are. My phone buzzes one last time. Victoria, through Instagram, some chances don't come twice. Family is forever. I delete it without reading it twice and turn back toward the house, toward warmth, toward the family I chose and who chose me back. In the window, I see James has turned on the library light, waiting up like he always does. The sight fills me with a gratitude so profound it makes my chest ache. This is what I inherited. Not just money, but the knowledge that I deserve to be waited for, to be chosen, to be seen. As I walk back through Eleanor's garden, now my garden, I make a promise to every overlooked child out there. I see you. You matter. You are enough exactly as you are. And someday when you least expect it, someone will hand you the keys to your own life and say what Eleanor said to me. It was always yours. You just needed permission to claim it. The house welcomes me home, warm and full of purpose. James meets me at the door with tea and a smile that says he sees me, has always seen me, will always see me. How are you, he asks, the simple question weighted with genuine care. Visible, I answer, and for the first time in my life, I truly mean it. The end.